Okay, let's roll. Yep. Okay, that's right. Okay. Actually, no, that is not the case. At 12:06, good afternoon. You're listening to the John DePetro show on AM 1380 and 99.9 FM, folks, on what is yet a another stormy Friday. It's really amazing now how now with the threat of um, the threat of rain and all of a sudden now that has become like, the new blizzard, almost blizzard warning, and then we have to worry about exactly what's gonna happen on the roadways, even though we're not talking about 5 inches of rain and we're not talking about 10 inches of rain. So it's just the threat of rain. So, folks, good afternoon. We have a lot actually news on this Friday. Thank you, everybody, Team One members. I am going to talk about last night. We were there in Warwick. It's a little bit of a confusing situation on our end, but I think we're able to correct it. If you saw the corrected video, information then was accurate of exactly what happened. And I also want to clarify, I put so the swimmers from East Greenwich. Someone put I just got a message from someone. Oh, you must be confused. No, no, the swimmer, the victim, the drowning victim is from East Greenwich. It's why I put that from the Warwick Police. And Warwick Police did have and it's one of those things. They're trying to get it out. And I can, once in a while these things happen. I'm certainly not going to criticize them for it. They have the wrong date and a minor typo that came in with the information. So listen, there was a tough situation last night. I'm sure for them, where I see on Thursday, July 27th, Warwick Police and Fire were called the area Connecticut. Well, okay, that is actually a typo, and when you look at it, it doesn't make sense because they have the date July 14th, and then they put the 27th. So what they meant was on July 13th. It was just one of those things. But anyhow, so I am aware of that, and I was just sharing what the Warwick Police put out, which was okay. They put the 27th. They meant last night, and just so we're all completely up to speed, it is Friday, July 14th. And yesterday was the 13th. So so what they meant to write was on Thursday, July 13th at approximately 9:48. Members of the Warwick Police Fire are called to the area of Connecticut Point Beach for a missing swimmer. Initial investigation revealed a 28-year-old female from East Greenwich and her 40-year-old male friend had gone to the park short time earlier, planned to go night swimming. While the male was setting up their beach blanket on the beach area, and if you saw the video last night, you could see him at the east end of the park, where the sandbar begins. The female then entered the water. A short time after entering the water, the female went under and did not surface. Boat units from the Warwick Police Department, Warwick Fire Department, and Narragansett Bay Marine Task Force, along with their support from the U.S. Coast Guard, responded, and after searching for 20 minutes, the swimmer, was located north side of the sandbar close to the lighthouse. Fire personnel attempted to revive the female, transport her to Kent Hospital, where tragically she was pronounced dead. Female has been identified as 28-year-old Nicolette Bieber from East Greenwich. That's why I put from East Greenwich. Our deepest condolences with the family of Nicolette cannot overstate the dangers of swimming at night in the dark, unfamiliar areas where tides, high winds may make conditions unpredictable. So that's from the Warwick Police media release Drowning Connecticut Point Beach. So apparently, my children know. I don't know if they know her, but they know her, one of her siblings, and just saw him the other night. And I want to touch on this whole situation that happened last night and the dangers of water. Although this particular situation I want to touch on because now it was confusing because then someone sent me a message. Oh, sorry, you're going all the way out there. They pulled the person out. They're administering CPR, and then someone else said, "Oh, it looks like they got the person out." So then I'm thinking, "Oh, great." You're right. They were able to rescue the person. Obviously, that was not the case. And those of you that saw the live stream last night, an ambulance passed me coming from that direction. And so it was, admittedly, it was a little confusing. The person we did see there was the companion, the friend who went to set up the beach blanket, and then the police were chatting with that individual. So, but I do want to talk about some of the statements that people are making in regards to this. Um, But let's just stay on track. This portion of the program is brought to you by PR Landscape Materials and Garden Center. Native vegetables, two words: corn, tomatoes, peppers, cucumbers, onions, zucchini, yellow squash. Folks, they have it all. Stop it and see them. PR Landscape Materials and Garden Center, 3688 Quaker Lane in North Kingstown. They're right off of Route 4. It's Debbie and Steve and Junior and Byron. They're fantastic. Right off of Route 4, you're coming back from the beach. Why not arrive home with some delicious native vegetables, corn, tomatoes? Their peppers and cucumbers are just fantastic. Now, they also have everything for your home, for your garden. You want to plant all kinds of, I'm big on instead of putting up a fence, you could just have a natural barrier for privacy. And they have it all. PR Landscape Materials and Garden Center. And I always like to mention to people, they run a very good Facebook page. It's always updated, has all the latest of what they have. A lot of businesses can kind of take clues from them, cues, I should say. PR Landscape Materials and Garden Center. Now, folks, visit the website, DePetro.com, brought to you by the Coesit Inn, 226 Coesit Avenue, West Warwick. By the way, the market is now open there. I have a video we're putting together. It just opened the other day. It's inside the Coesit Inn, and they have prepared food. They have, especially if anyone that's Polish, they have a full Polish section, all different types of sauces and different types of pasta, fresh bread. It's all right there, the market at the Coesit Inn. But, last night, and even today, people are sending me messages saying, well, everyone knows, you don't swim over there and you shouldn't swim at night and all of those things. I'll just say a couple, I know that area particularly. I mean, somewhat, really, really well. So now, first of all, growing up, I had a relative that lived on the other side in Warwick Neck, or on Briarcliff, actually. So I'm familiar with that area. And then when we first moved back to Rhode Island, I actually lived right near Connecticut Point, and I used to kayak along there. When I first moved back from New York to Rhode Island, we were living in Warwick Neck, right along the water. And then I got a kayak, and I used to kayak out around the bay, and you become very familiar with it. You wake up in the morning, and the bay, it's like glass, and that's really the best time to kayak. And I would be out on a kayak, um, and became actually pretty good at it in and around Patience Island, Prudence Island. However, at 2 o'clock, you could almost set your watch to it. The winds, the tides, everything changes, and the bay at 1 o'clock is not the same bay at 2 o'clock. As I started to get familiar with it, I'd go, on a Saturday morning, whatever, kayak, and I'd go all the way down to Connecticut past there and even farther down the bay and got really good at it. And it could be challenging. It's far different than if you're just on a freshwater lake, but you become familiar with the way the tides, and I would go way out and past on that lighthouse. So Now, if you saw the video last night, as much as it was very calm inland, there was a very strong, there was a strong breeze, and I fully get it. The closer you are to the water, um, it cools off. It certainly cools off, and there's always, or not always, but most of the time there's a nice ocean breeze that comes up. I was at a party in the Neck right around 4th of July, and I was saying how one of the things living there, and those of you that are familiar with along the water, is I would really notice it in May and June when you would have a nice warm day if you're inland. But if you were along the water, it was so windy and it was cold coming off the bay that it was almost like impossible to be outside because it would just be like a windstorm. But let me just talk about for all these people saying, someone sent me a thing, everyone knows you don't swim. If you know somewhat how to swim a little bit and you could kind of walk out a little bit. If you saw me last night, it's very dark. And I know during the day there are signs that say no swimming and so forth, but I don't know what it's like at night. And I just take exception with I could see someone saying, "All right, it's not like we're going down to, East Matunic at night, or it's not like we're going to, the beach, so to speak. It's right off the bay. It was very hot yesterday, and I could see someone saying, "Yeah, why not? Let's go cool off and we'll go for a nice little night swim." I mean, I used to go in and around there. The people that we live next door to, the Paquins, they used to go into the water. I mean, you could go into the water and swim there. It's always a little questionable. The bay apparently has improved a lot. So a lot of people, the people along Oakland Beach that go into the water. So but I don't know about that. I'd be curious now, and I'm not sure, but I'll do it over the next couple of days. I want to see at night what the signage is like. Because otherwise, and maybe someone is saying, no, they have signs lit up that say, no night swimming. I don't know if it says no, maybe it says swim at your own risk. You could see where the tide would change. I mean, this is so tragic when you think of it, that this 28-year-old girl from EG, and anyone, as a matter of fact, with a friend. Yeah, why not? Maybe they do it all the time, and then somehow I don't know how it shifted, and then suddenly, or unless someone is not a good swimmer, that's still salt water, so you're still buoyant. It's not as if you go to a freshwater pond. I remember the first time going to Johnson's Pond in Coventry. Because I grew up, we would always go to the beach. We would always either go to Bonnet Shores or swim at East Matunic or swim at Green Hill. And when you're used to salt water, once you get in, everyone's just kind of floating around. I vividly remember the first time going to Teddy Gannon. They had a summer home along Johnson's Pond in Coventry at a birthday party. And it's so much more work in freshwater. I was exhausted by the time I got out of there. You think you can swim. You can swim in salt water. It's different in freshwater where then you're just sinking a little bit. So, but the bay is salt water. So we don't know exactly what happened other than and then the other night, it's a mystery. On Sunday night. Now apparently they say that man went to go help a kayaker, and I don't know if they know exactly what happened. And the water is dangerous. Now, those of you that watched the live stream last summer, I didn't know this. Some people know about it, but there's different pockets of places that people do go to swim. And there are places that you may just drive past them. I drive past them. And then we learned there was a place, it's right off the New London Turnpike. And it's odd because it, it's in West Greenwich um, line. I think it also part of it goes into like Coventry, but or West. I don't know exactly, but anyhow, there's a place you park, and then these guys went, and it starts off where you can walk into the water, but then it drops down. And if you remember, it was horrible. It was a Friday night, and two of them. two people drowned. So the people they went there and they're having a good time, and I think they went there kind of late, like whatever. Again, they're not doing anything wrong. They're not bothering anyone, but they completely misjudged the way that the way the water can change. And I think actually there was even a rock, and some of if I remember, then the people swim out sometimes to the rock. But water, it's dangerous. And last night is a good example. Now, on the one hand, they did recover the person last night. That could have, think of that. I mean, that could have gone well. They could still be searching today if they had not recovered that individual. And it's very, very difficult for the first responders. So, what I'm going to do is, I don't know, maybe later today, we'll see what the rain situation is like. Um, we're now we've entered into, the Governor McKee and DOT they're actually issuing alerts now to all of us when it's going to rain. I mean, if that is not third world, where, be cautious out there because we could get an inch to an inch and a half of rain. I mean, I just never remember it like that in the past. But I don't understand what's happening that all these roads flood up. And I think it's infrastructure and failure of infrastructure. And that's on the state. And these different people that live along, I mean, I remember the people that lived along the Patuxent River, they would always have to be cautious and to be kind of, low lying areas and get that. And then you have that, that spot in Cranston that always right underneath with the bridges and that always floods. I am at a loss to explain why all these years later, why it's so bad. But the one that really throws me is Route 10. Route 10 has been under construction now for a very long time, and they have spent, I'm not exaggerating, that's hundreds of millions of dollars with the 610 connector and the construction. And the fact that this may be the second time in a week that the state has to close Route 10. Is it because of 2 feet of snow? No. Is it because of, icy conditions? No. Why do they have to close Route 10? Oh, because it's raining. Like, what is this? I don't understand the priorities in the state of the one of the top. And by the way, as I mentioned yesterday, in the CNBC study that they did, and where Rhode Island is ranked, Rhode Island all these years later still gets an F for infrastructure. It's preposterous. I don't have an explanation for you. I don't. Um, but there has to be more efficient ways. Anyone, if you travel to Florida, Florida gets heavy rain almost every single day. It cools off. Every day at 3 o'clock in Florida, it rains like hell. But they have their highways and roads essentially built to drain it right off. And then obviously, because it's so warm, it it evaporates pretty quickly. But there's different parts of the world that every single day in the late into the afternoon it pours rain, but they build the roads accordingly. I don't have an explanation why. For all of this talk, Governor McKee likes to say we're going to be a global leader in this and we're going to be a global leader in that. You can't even construct the road to drain properly when it rains. And last Labor Day, 95 completely flooded and closed. I am at a loss. I don't get it. It's so unacceptable. It's so small time. It's third world and every other negative adjective you want to use that works towards that. Now, you have not only poor leadership, but lack of leadership and terrible leadership. But there's two other really important stories I want to tell you. And again, folks, you're listening. This is the Noon Report. It's the John DePetro Show. It's AM 1380 and 99.9 FM. This portion of the program brought to you by AJ Drywall, Plasters, and Home Improvement. Listen, why not? Maybe you're finding, hey, I like working from home. Now let's go with the real home office. AJ Drywall, Plasters, Home Improvement. Now I share their Facebook page, and you can see the difference that they make. Frame to finish basements, acoustical ceilings, new homes. They could do an addition Maybe you're saying, you know what? We're not gonna move. We're gonna add on an in-law apartment, or we're gonna add on a home office. Rehabs, commercial, they do painting, remodeling. Give them a call, free quote, 401-323-9252 for AJ Drywall Plasters and Home Improvement. Now, tonight we will be doing Cranston PD Live. Okay, whatever. If it rains, we'll deal with it. But I will be live with Cranston Police starting at 8:30. Looking ahead next week. Hey Miller, Senator Miller's going to be court on Tuesday. Monday now is the mob wake for, he called himself Joey Dallas, but it was Joe DeLuca, who sings the Johnny D song that we play. He passed away, age 83, and then his wake is Monday night, and there could be trouble at it because he and his brother are considered mob rats, mob informants. So we're planning on live coverage of that. But there's two significant things that are happening today. One is if in the CD1 race to replace Cicilline. Well, see, he's out of there now. So something very significant has happened, and I'm gonna tell you about that in a moment. But something else has drastically happened. Actually, I'm looking at a couple different things. The mayor of Providence has just put out a video about illegal ATVs. 3 months after we implemented, we've confiscated 100 ATVs and illegal vehicles, the same amount we've confiscated over 3 years prior. So that is because you have a mayor, Mayor Smiley, who is he's working on it and he took it seriously. And I believe Chief Clemens could have accomplished this, but let's call it for what it is. Under Mayor Alorza and Commissioner Perry, Mayor Alorza had a lackadaisical attitude towards these vehicles. Mayor Smiley and Chief Perez have not. They've been very, very aggressive about it. But what I also want to point out is the mayor of Cranston, Mayor Ken Hopkins. And, I give him a lot of credit. He is someone to watch, I believe. And so Top Golf has confirmed they were all set. Top Golf is incredible. And there's chains around the country. And this is a big coup. Not only they're going to open one in Rhode Island, but they're opening one in Cranston. And Top Golf was about to call the name of it, and it's right in where Citizens Bank was in Cranston, in the garden across from Garden City, and then you also have Chapel View, but right off the highway. And they were going to call it Top Golf Providence, but Mayor Hopkins made some noise about it, and suddenly now they're changing the name and they are confirming they're changing it to Top Top Golf Rhode Island, Top Golf RI. Now that may seem like a small thing to some people, but Mayor Hopkins, who is up for reelection, I believe he is one of those individuals who is underestimated. And I'll tell you about Mayor Hopkins. Number one, those of you that watch when I am at a scene, he just has a great way about him. He lets his police department do their thing. He doesn't meddle. Cranston Police, as many of you know, I mean, it's tough to argue for anyone that wants to try to make the argument that they're not the top law enforcement agency in the state. And I'm not just saying that because of my relationship with them, but Mayor Hopkins, drawing a line in the sand and saying, no, this is what it needs to be, and them changing the name. That's very significant. And I'll tell you what, you don't see that from Governor McKee. Governor McKee folds all the time to the special interest, to the unions. Mayor Hopkins, if I remember this correctly, he entertained maybe running for governor. And Sue Cienki, the chair of the Republican Party, I believe he said that she like kind of laughed it off and went all in with Ashley Kalis. I think Mayor Hopkins has shown that likability is a big factor when you want to get things done. He's got a good demeanor about him. He was a teacher. He was a very accomplished baseball coach. I know his brother was a member of the Rhode Island State Police and very respected trooper. So Mayor Hopkins, the only Republican mayor right now in Rhode Island, he is demonstrating, and also he comes out and speaks out about the corruption, whether it is in fact the situation with Matt Riley, who's a Republican. He just issued a statement about the school committee person that's been charged with embezzlement. And then you have the Senator Miller case that is going to play itself out. But for all of the talk right now within the Republican Party, you look at the mayor of North Providence is a Democrat. The mayor of Woonsocket is a Democrat. Obviously, the mayor of Providence, North Providence, East Providence, all Democrats. Mayor of Pawtucket, Mayor Grabian is a Democrat. Mayor of Warwick is an independent. But Ken Hopkins, that is someone, this is a big win for him. He's got a strong police department. In Cranston right now, they are benefiting so much from all the crime in Providence. I believe that. You know, when I'm in Garden City, you don't smell weed everywhere. You watch when I'm with Cranston Police and watch tonight. We'll be live on Facebook, then it's posted later on YouTube. And they don't mess around. Cranston, they don't. He lets them do their thing. They may try to get away with some of this stuff in Providence, some of these other cities. They're not getting away in Cranston. They recognize if people want to sit outside, they don't want ATVs riding by them. They don't want, crime. They don't want weed everywhere. I mean, I'm very proud. I grew up in Edgewood. I still have a lot of friends in Cranston, and obviously because of the nature of the live stream, we spend a lot of time in Cranston. But time and again, and I tell people, and people are really starting to recognize Cranston is just emerging as this they see the opening. As Providence and under Mayor Lorza just flounders, Cranston is thriving right now with, the opening of the park, the success of Chapel View, Chapel Grill, the success of Garden City, which just continues to get bigger and bigger. And now Top Golf is going to be tremendous traffic coming into the city of Cranston. So, but Mayor Hopkins, I know some different people are weighing maybe making a run against him. I would say I would proceed with caution because this getting Top Golf to do Top Golf Rhode Island, and they're based in Cranston. Top Golf is not going to be in Warwick. Top Golf is not going to be in Providence. Top Golf is not going to be in Lincoln. Top Golf is going to be centered right in Cranston, right off the highway, and it's a draw. I know people that have visited Top Golf locations in other states. It is a happening, and it is, and look at successfully without having to make a lot of noise. But he said they can take all the buildings and poles and everything and move them to Providence, but we're not going to have Top Golf Providence located in Cranston, and he was successful. Folks, this portion of the John DePetro Show is brought to you by Propane Plus. Call today, 401-885-4209. Propane Plus, heating and cooling for all your propane needs. If you use propane, you want to call Propane Plus today, 401-885-4209. Or in Massachusetts, 508-252-3359 for Propane Plus, heating and cooling 3 generations. They run a tremendous operation. I've known the Johnson family for many years. They run a great operation. You can find them online at propaneplus.com, residential or commercial. You just go, you type in your zip code, and then boom, residential or commercial, Propane Plus, heating and cooling you can depend on, always there for you. It's Propane Plus, 401-885-4209. So that's a big win. That's a big win for Mayor Hopkins. So, no, I also want to just circle back. So, in 1 week, we've had 2 drownings. The man that drowned Sunday night, whatever they call that, right off of Route 7, Lincoln and North Providence. And apparently he went in. That's kind of an odd story that he went to help these kayakers and then he just never surfaced. And then last night, I mean, that's very sad that this 28-year-old girl from East Greenwich drowned. The water is nothing to, fool around with. And I don't know what the answer is. Maybe they need, and I'm just maybe they need better lighting, or maybe there should be more readily accessible floatable devices. Sometimes I never understand. It's you have people and they're on a boat and they don't know how to swim and they don't have a life jacket on. There was a video on TikTok of a bunch of guys in Florida and they got they rented like a boat and they completely overstacked the boat and the boat actually started sinking as they were leaving and like none of them none of them were capable of swimming. I see that Cranston Mayor Hopkins has issued a statement. The people of Cranston, Mayor Hopkins' statement on naming of Top Golf venue like Top Golf coming to our city. We're delighted to share Topgolf has agreed to designate their new home in Cranston as Topgolf Rhode Island rather than Topgolf Providence. This is not a slight against Providence. Providence now has great leadership and Mayor Smiley is moving that city in the right direction. Look at that. I greatly appreciate the cooperation and open-mindedness of Topgolf executive management. Send a message to the people of Cranston, State of Rhode Island. Topgolf cares about our residents. Symbolically, this was important to Cranston, gives our city more proper recognition as the host community for this great entertainment economic venture. With this gesture, Topgolf has demonstrated one of the reasons we're excited they're coming to Cranston. We look forward to continuing to work with them. So that is big, and it is big that Cranston's going to be the host community for Topgolf Rhode Island. So hey, he deserves to, take some bows on that. I also see Governor McKee looking to start a business. Commerce Rhode Island can help you identify priorities, locate resources and services. Well, if you heard my interview with Mark Mix, that's national story. They're paying attention to what was slipped into um, the legislation regarding these dispensaries, where now you have to have organized labor in there. It's ridiculous. Folks, and let me just stop just for a moment. And I know that sometimes people get confused on this type of thing, but anyone that runs a business, so you're going to run a business. The last thing you need is the government, or in this case, the state, telling you how you're going to run your business. It's hard enough trying to run a business. This is interference from the government, from our state government. And if they can do this with the dispensary business, which I understand some people may say, like, well, what do I care? Right? They're selling weed. But you're missing the larger part that they should have no involvement with this in any way. This is a shakedown. It's the same thing that McKee is trying to do with they want anyone that's a private contractor and they want to get in there and no, maybe we're going to unionize. We need to know who this is and they want to go after people. This guy is McKee is completely controlled by organized labor. Now, speaking of that, let me just finish. Mayor Hopkins, of course, we're still proud of companies like Providence Liquor Supply, Texas Roadhouse, Oneyville, New York Systems, Top Golf. Make it clear, Top Golf is a special part of Cranston, City of Cranston. So that's a big win for Mayor Hopkins with that. But I want to touch on this situation that the CD1 race, and it's very, very significant. And I've kind of been talking about it. And I recognize not everyone's going to absorb this, but you need to absorb it, folks. There's a pattern where I tell you about certain voting situations. And because it doesn't affect certain people, or they think it doesn't affect them, that they ignore it. And it's people in elected office. And as I've said, I don't have an explanation as to why Senate Minority Leader Jessica De La Cruz and House Minority Leader Mike Chippendale, why they are so silent on this voting thing. I don't have an answer for you. I wish I did. But I also, folks, want to remind you about Falcon Pest Services. Call them today, 401 739 1322. Falcon Pest Services. If you have a problem with mosquitoes or termites or ants or roaches or mice or rats, bed bugs, Falcon Pest Services, all different types of programs. They work with homeowners, they deal with landlords, they deal with three-family homes, condominiums, restaurants, schools, businesses. These types of pests, they can infiltrate any type of structure, residential, commercial. What I'm telling you is serving Rhode Island and Massachusetts is Falcon Pest Services. Call today. It's John and Kelly, folks. Family run business. They're local. They will get the job done. 401 739 1322. 401 739 1322 for Falcon Pest Services. So today, now I know already what I'm about to tell you. Some people are not going to absorb. But I'm telling you, it's very significant when it comes to the CD1 race. So in the media, they are reporting it, but Sabina Matos, the lieutenant governor, is now getting the endorsement, much sought after endorsement from Luna, Labor's International. Okay, Juan, what does that mean? Where is this going? Well, it was organized labor that got McKee over the finish line. And the whole reason Dan McKee is governor right now is because of organized labor. Now, it is, a deal with the devil. I'm looking right now, Channel 6 has Connecticut Point, and there's a huge sign danger, drowning hazard. Drownings have occurred on this sandbar. And then it even has it in Spanish. Rip currents, fast tide change, drowning occurs. Huge sign there. But this is in daylight. I don't know the answer, and I'll see. I won't be able to, um, unless I leave Cranston tonight. But my question is there a light on this at nighttime? Because for all the people saying people are posting, everyone knows you don't swim there at night because of that Connecticut sandbar. I don't know if people know that you're not supposed to swim there at night. And I'm also just, mentioning that, if that's just a sign during the day and there's no light on it, then how would people um, know at nighttime and not see the sign? So I will get the answer to that on whether or not they have a light on that at nighttime. And I know right now some people are saying, you don't swim at night and it's dangerous. I'm just curious. Not everyone knows that. There are people that swim at night, and not everybody drowns. There are people that fish at night. There's people that swim in the early morning hours, right? There are people that swim at night and they don't drown. So my question is, is that sign lit up? So no matter what time of day you go, you can see the sign of the problems there. But I want to give credit. It was Ted Nesi of Channel 12, the biggest union endorsement for Luna, which is Labor's International Union of North America. They are now endorsing Sabina Matos. Now, a lot of people right now on this Friday, they're not going to understand why that's significant, but they're the biggest, they're the most powerful. And what that means is they're going to go out and ballot harvest for the lieutenant governor. Now, they helped her win over Aaron Gukian. I want to repeat that. The ballot harvesting that union did helped her win because she lost election day. That union, their ballot harvesting helped. They did not only help, they brought Governor McKee to victory over Helena Foulkes because he lost day of voting in the primary. Sabina Matos lost day of voting in the general election to Aaron Gukian. Mayor Fung beat Seth Magaziner day of voting. But that union, that's why McKee is governor. That's why she's lieutenant governor. And that's why Seth Magaziner is in Congress. So the fact, what they're going to do, and this is why it's so important, and the media won't tell you, because I'll tell you why. Because the television stations, they want the candidates to keep spending money on TV, right? For all their ads. The television stations, Channel 10 and Channel 12, they see like, oh, wow, this is going to be big for us. Normally, where August would be quiet, all these people are going to be spending money on television commercials for the CD1 race. They don't want to tell you that the debates no longer matter. They don't want to tell you that the commercials no longer matter. Everyone, the media that tells you, boy, that Governor McKee ad with the mother, he still lost day of voting to Helena Foulkes. What puts them over the top, it's not even mail ballots, and they won't even change the name. And I will, reach out to like State Senator Jessica De La Cruz. At the very least, it's so insulting that they keep calling it mail ballots because they're not going through the mail. They collect. The union goes out and they collect ballots. And as I have explained to you, I am at a loss what the Republicans at the Rhode Island State House are doing up there. And I'll have Rep. Breen on again. But Connecticut and Massachusetts, one person cannot collect more than 10. 10 is the max. Rhode Island, it's unlimited. In Rhode Island, one person, and Dan McGowan of the Boston Globe is one person can go out and collect 1,000 ballots. They pay them $20 a ballot. Now, if I were running for office and I'm looking at, okay, I could run TV commercials. Maybe people will see them, maybe they won't. Let's just take a number of $100,000, right? So I'm going to spend, Channel 10 and Channel 12 are saying, give us that money. Maybe people will see it, maybe they won't. Maybe they'll like the commercial, maybe they won't. But instead, if I take that $100,000 divided by 20, obviously, I can get 5,000 mail ballots. Boom, in hand, guarantee. What if a bunch of people see my television commercials on Channel 10 and Channel 12 in the news? But then, what if it rains on primary day and Rhode Island is flooded out and the people say, I'm not going to go vote. It's not that important to me anyway. Then what happens? Folks, so Matos, I don't care what anyone says. This makes her the front runner. Now, keep in mind, there's a checklist that they give her. You have to meet with them. They go through the list. Will you support this? She's just saying yes at everything. So what does that tell you? If she does, she gets to Congress. They own her. That's the whole thing with McKee. They own him. They're going to own her. This is my larger point. Folks, this is not democracy. This is scavenger hunt. How many people listening right now? Because they saw the movie 2,000 Mules. And everyone was screaming up and down, wow, we got to get cameras at the ballot boxes. We have to, they don't even understand that Rhode Island, it's worse than it is. So I don't think, it shouldn't be called a mail ballot. No one's putting it in the mail ballot, in the mail. As I have talked about, they set up these drop boxes. And the reason the drop box is there is not to make it convenient. The reason the drop box is there is if you put in a fraudulent ballot, at the very least, you're not going to get charged with, actually, you're not going to get charged with anything, but you're not going to get charged with mail fraud. Many times, they use mail fraud to go after criminals if anything is put into the mail. Now, the laws need to adjust because, as many of you know, when's the last time and people aren't even really mailing things as much anymore. Everything is through other forms of communication. So, and I even noticed, I had a bunch of people, I'll bet a number of people wish you a happy birthday. How many people are still getting a birthday card in the mail anymore? I mean, you just don't. Um, they may post something on social media, someone texts you, right? Happy birthday. But people are just not mailing. Maybe some people do, but not as much. But the term mail ballot should be changed because that's not what it's there for. Now, as I have told you, the top thing, if Senate Minority Leader Jessica De La Cruz, by the way, I want her to succeed. I just don't see the path of success. I don't see what battles they're winning up there. They're like the Republicans right now at the state house. They're like speed bumps, right? Like the only one up there, Republican, seemingly that's making noise, is Representative Patricia Morgan. And at the very least, that's why I play her calling out this whole business that the driving card privilege that they're giving illegals is identical to our license. And that's by design. In other states, they're very different. You see what is a driver's license, you see what is, an illegal getting one. She was the only one that made waves about that. And notice, even now that it's been exposed, the Republicans up there, they're not even making a big issue of it. But, folks, all of this nonsense that you hear from Democrat officials, right? Cicilline was a big one of this. Or you'll hear Matos, right? She'll talk about it. This whole thing about January 6th and threats to democracy and the MAGA Republicans and blah blah. You tell me what is going on right now with these ballots, and they're not even mail ballots; they're just ballot harvesting. That how is that an election? We don't, and I don't hear any elected official attempt to even bring attention to this at the Rhode Island State House. How is it democracy that last year on primary day, voters went to the polls and voted for Helena Folks? So she won the election. Hold on. Remember the Summer Olympics? It was in Germany, where the German judge said there should be 2 seconds left on the clock. And they threw the ball in, they alley-ooped it and beat the Americans. And then there was an interview. He admitted he lied. There should not have been 2 seconds left. The Americans should have won that game. But no one calls it out. How is it democracy? McKee lost to Helena Folks, but because organized labor, they manipulate the system and collect all these ballots and then pump them in early, that McKee's announced the winner. And the same thing goes for Matos, and the same thing goes for now Congressman Seth Magaziner. But I am telling you, I'll have more confidence in our election system when the people that are truly being voted for, the real winners of the election, are actually winning the elections. So as far as the CD1 race, if I were advising like Sabina Matos, does she have to do debates? No. Should she run TV commercials? Probably, just for her supporters as a reminder. I'm not saying you don't do any of those things, but this business of it's a ground game. It's not, that's not a ground game. That's not a ground game. This is, they grab as many ballots. I also learned that last year, so the unions, who's in all these nursing homes, assisted living? Well, it's all union nurses. So they control it. I know one candidate trying for weeks. They wanted to come in and speak to the residents about their candidate. They couldn't get a date. They were boxed out. And they weren't just boxed out in one place in Warwick. They were boxed out of all of these places in Warwick. And what do you think the union nurses were doing in these assisted living nursing homes? They were collecting all the ballots for the candidate that they wanted. In that case, it was Seth Magaziner. And then it was also McKee. And it was also Matos, right? They all sign on. So they had one person in charge, and then it's very organized. And you have the residents, whatever they don't even know that they're voting, or they don't, for different reasons, really know exactly what's happening. And they may not even see the ballot, or then the nurses help them fill it out. But no one is calling them out on that. I just there's that's not democracy. As I've said, that's like a game of scavenger hunt. It's all about now just the collecting of the ballots. Don't get me wrong. You still run some semblance of a campaign, but you certainly don't have to spend watch, the people that spend the most money at television are the newcomer business people that don't know how the game is rigged. Look at Ashley Kalis. Look at Helena Folks. Look at watch this new guy in Jamestown, whatever his name is, the business guy. Watch, I fully believe he's going to run a bunch of TV commercials, and the people, the TV stations, they want to tell him, boy, that matters. You got to be on TV. You got to be active with those debates. You got to do it. You got to do all these things. When in reality, what really matters under our system is that the unions are just going out and collecting all the votes. Does day of voting matter? Yeah, of course it does. You're going to have some element of that, but not what it used to be. And even if there's a shortfall, you could make up with it with all these early voting or whatever they're called. They're not mail ballots because they don't go through the mail. So they are early ballots or early votes, whatever you want to call it. So now, but as I've said, the television stations, they don't want to highlight it because the people look at how much money Ashley Kayla spent on television last fall. She spent a huge amount of money. Helena Folks spent all that money. And the TV people keep telling them, oh, you got to be on TV. People got to learn your name. And then McKee's just out there with the union people collecting all the ballots. Boy, and what do they like to say? That McKee commercial where he's playing cards with the mother, that's what did it. That got him, I'm not saying that had no impact. My argument is it's not the impact that I don't think it has the impact that they lead you to believe that it is by any stretch. So, as much as that race is just getting going, in many ways, Matos locking up that endorsement, that is huge for her. And it already shows that it's really just like a two-person race between her and Ruggenberg. All right, let's see, folks. Again, Cranston PD Live coming up later. Let's see if we can reach our friend Marie at It's My Health on this. Boy, the weather this Friday, the weather pattern right now, rain on a Friday, and then looks like rain coming into a set. Folks, joining us on this Friday, is it raining in Cumberland right now on Mendon Road, Marie?
No, the sun was just actually out
All
for a
that.
few minutes.
Look
It's
at
out
that.
right now.
The sun is always shining and It's My Health. Folks, 1099 Mendon Road in Cumberland. Well, Marie, we've had some hot weather. Summer is really full throat. What could someone find inside It's My Health that would help them enjoy summer?
Well, certainly some nice iced teas, or if they should be drinking a lot of water, so adding some electrolytes that we have in liquid form, or some of our hydration powders that are really nice just to add to a bottle of water, because you need more than the water. You need those minerals as well.
Folks, it's Maria. It's My Health, 1099 Mendon Road in Cumberland. We're going to go longer with her next week. She also has hemp and CBD products. Stop in, everything healthy. Marie, what are your hours on this Friday, and what are your hours tomorrow, Super Saturday?
We'll be here till 5:30 today and tomorrow from 9 to 4.
Folks, stop in and see her. Thank you, Marie. Folks, she's the queen of health. All right, here's what we're going to do. We're going to break for the 1 o'clock news. We have another full hour to go. I'll see you tonight with the Cranston Police. It's the John DePetro Show. Another full hour on the radio to go. Right now, stay tuned for the 1 o'clock news.